Their comics were passed from hand to hand until they became ragged, and their slang spread like a fever.
Well, this looks like an interesting corner. Hiya, babe. What you doing tonight?
Fire watching. What are you having?
You're really a hip tomato. I'll have a slug of bourbon.
Not surprisingly, all this went down badly with British soldiers, with their sparse pay packets and their baggier, browner, dowdier uniforms, as wives and girlfriends ogled something better.
Guess I better blow.
And there was a lot of ogling going on. A young Canadian soldier wrote in his diary, "A lot of men were going to die. Everyone knew that Hyde Park and Green Park at dusk and after dark were a vast battlefield of sex."
If sex was the battlefield, Piccadilly Circus was the front line. In the near absolute darkness of the blackout, the prostitutes of London would light matches or shine torches on their faces and then down towards their stockings and high heels. They were known as the Piccadilly Commandos. The Sunday Pictorial newspaper described the mile around Piccadilly Circus as a spider's web of vice.
Hello, darling. You like my little dog, yes?
No.
And at the heart of it all was Rainbow Corner, headquarters of the American Red Cross in the West End.
Here at Rainbow Corner, there was a barber shop, hot showers, ice cream sodas, a shoeshine parlour and a jukebox. There was a basement called Dunker's Den, where you could devour donuts and coffee and much else.
Fraternization on the dance floor and off it. See what I mean?
It was a hive of 24-hour-a-day, all-American action.
This was where the goods and attitudes from the United States that would later colonize the world first arrived in Britain. The Americans invaded us right there.
The 17th of November, 1943. A village postman in Dorset is doing his rounds. Today, he's taking the same letter to every house.
The letter from Major General C.H. Miller was an eviction notice. In order to give our troops the fullest opportunity to perfect their training in the use of modern warfare, the Army must have an area of ground particularly suited to their special needs. That area of ground included the little parish of Tyneham, whose villagers were given 28 days to pack up and go.
Evacuation in the path of war has come to the peaceful southwest of England. Not the feverish exit from an enemy invader, but an orderly removal out of cottages, farms and village stores.
Tyneham really was Old England. Some of the villagers had never even left for a day trip to the nearest town, never mind going to live somewhere else. But Old England was also intensely patriotic.
Bessie and Helen Taylor were hanging out the washing when the postman came with the eviction letter.
Helen Taylor said later, "We loved Tyneham, but we also loved our country. And if it was our duty to leave for the war effort, so be it."
Some villagers were hoping to be back for the harvest in May. They would never return. Tyneham remains a military training area to this day.
In invasion stretched its long lines of tanks and guns and vehicles down the rolling English roads.
Times have certainly changed since those days when invasion implied invasion of Britain.
By April 1944, southern England had become one vast military camp. The greatest invasion force in history was preparing for battle. The location and timing of the attack had become the most crucial secret of the war. On June the 6th, 1944, German troops finally faced the surprise assault on 5 Normandy beaches by American, British and Canadian forces. D-Day.
And so the secret, the most important secret, held. The Germans were caught off guard. But this was still a horrendously dangerous operation. The huge Allied armada was limited by the size of the landing craft and the size of the beaches. In the first wave of the attack, only 9 Allied divisions could reach France, where they would be confronted by 58 German divisions.
After news of the heroic landings, the liberating army's advances were frustratingly slow.
The Germans fought cleverly and bravely and hard from the hedgerows of Normandy to the banks of the Rhine. The Allied armies never had it easy.
May the 4th, 1945. On Lüneburg Heath, 5 German officers surrender the German armies of the North. The war is over.
When victory in Europe finally came, the people's joy knew no bounds. But afterwards, the full horror of the war dawned. The British people were waking up to a new world order. And there'd be little room for a British Empire, or even an independent British voice in the post-war world.
Britannia's imperial red-jacketed adventurers had become the crumpled, relieved Bolshevik democracy of the VE Day celebrations. And even as the people cheered and an excited young Princess Elizabeth, the future Queen, mingled anonymously with the crowd, one of the least likely empires in the history of the world was dying.
Just 44 years after the death of Queen Victoria, Imperial Britannia's final flare was her finest hour. She'd faced down defeat, destruction and death, and the British people had refused to fall apart.
Instead, they came together in a way they'd never really done before and sacrificed dreams and homes and lives to keep hope alive around the world until the final victory came. And by doing all of that, they made modern Britain. And then they gave it to us.
There's a land